Hello Motorrad World fans, and welcome to this Paddock Talk, talking MotoGP Assen Sunday race day. Sorry for the delayed post, it was hectic rushing from Assen, the track yesterday, to get back to Amsterdam from the airport, waking up early this morning to get to the airport. Airport's an absolute nightmare because it's understaffed, and people that go traveling go through security check with all 6,000 watches that they own on them, 45 laptops, 4,471 liters of water and toothpaste and everything, I mean, 500 belts on. It's just crazy. Anyway, I finally got through to my gate. I've got about an hour to chill before I climb on my flight back to the UK, so I thought I'd quickly put this out. Now, that was better. Hey, that was better MotoGP. That was a little bit more exciting compared to Sachsenring last 2 weekends ago now. Assen always brings up good racing. It really does. I've said it from my Thursday post already. It's just a wonderful place to go watch motorcycle racing and MotoGP. The atmosphere was fantastic. The spectators were great. The stands were full. The embankments were full. They were cheering. The marshals were happy and dancing. There was always music. There was just a great vibe throughout the entire weekend. There really was. So well done, Assen. It's definitely one if you want to do a MotoGP race. Compared to all the ones I've been to now, Jerez was fantastic, Mugello was fantastic, Catalunya was fantastic, but Assen probably sits at the top of the list at the moment as well. In the paddock, the big talk on Sunday morning was kind of, as I reported on Saturday, the announcement was made that Alex Marquez would leave LCR and he would be joining Cressini Ducati. DJ Antonio's re-signed with that team, so that'll be the two-rider lineup there for the Cressini team. Alex Marquez, I think it's a good move for him. I think the LCR Honda thing kind of just ran its course. I think he needed a change. And why not climb onto a, race-winning, proven Cressini Ducati? Enea Bastianini has won 3 races this year on it, got podiums, has fallen off the bandwagon somewhat. But Alex Marquez, I think it's a good move. I think it's a good move for Ducati to potentially entice bigger brother, if he comes back fitter and faster than ever, to potentially also looking at making a move from Honda to Ducati. But anyway, that was the main news heading into Sunday. That's 2 more slots filled. That's Digi and Alex Marquez sorted. So the only real big seats still up for grabs, other than we're waiting for Mir and Repsol to announce they're getting together, Alex Rins and LCR potentially getting together, Nakagami to stay in LCR. The big question mark, Oliveira to announce that he is going to RNF Aprilia. If that is still happening, can't see it not happening. The big one is obviously the second seat at RNF, and it's definitely between Ralph Fernandez and Darren Binder. I did see Ralph Fernandez walking around the RNF pits a little bit more this weekend. He's got a couple of mates that work within the team, so that was a little bit for Darren. And the big talk in the paddock is that Ralph Fernandez is going to be signing that second seat. So there's no confirmation yet. I'm not saying it's done and dusted yet. There's no doubt Darren's still in with a shot there, with everything that he's done so far. But it's not sounding good in the paddock. As I said, Raul was hanging around a lot more, and most of the people in the paddock think that Raul Fernandez is going to be on that second RNF seat. So let's wait and see how that plays out. As far as the racing goes, as I said, much more exciting compared to Sachsenring and some of the other races we had this year. Pecco Bagnaia, we've blown the trumpet about Fabio Quartararo and how ice cool he is and how meticulous he is and brilliant he is. Pecco's been the same. He really has been the same most of the season. He's just had these unfortunate mistakes where he's crashed out. Some his fault, some out of his control, but he's had these 4 or 5 DNFs that have, before this weekend had really put him out of the championship, although it's just been blown wide open again. Never say never in MotoGP. Never say never. That should be their next t-shirt. Never say never, MotoGP, because you can't. It's just so unpredictable. Quartararo has dominated the last couple of Grand Prix, was looking good in the practice sessions and qualifying. Heading into the Sunday race at Assen, looked nice and controlled. Where I was watching him out on track over the weekend, looked extremely fast, looked in control, and he came out and said it himself. He made a schoolboy error. He made a rookie error. It was a silly mistake, and it was made because of the pressure coming from Pecco out front. He knew that Pecco was stupid fast the whole weekend, And if Pecco got out front, he was going to do exactly what he did in the race. Just get out front, manage it, control it, and go for the win. And Fabio, I think, knew he had to make a move early on. He didn't get the greatest start, went into turn one. I was standing right in the middle of turn one, so you see 1, 2, 3, all the way as they get onto the back straight, you see that whole section. And Fabio went deep into turn one, ran a bit wide, but, recovered, and he went for a lash again, didn't make it stick there. And then I think Fabio made a couple of mistakes, obviously, because he crashed, but I think he underestimated Aleix Espargaro's pace, trying to make that move on the inside, and he underestimated just how good that Aprilia is and how well it turns. So he went for the lunge on the inside perfectly well within his rights. It wasn't a complete, go in malicious intent to take Aleix Espargaro out. He went for a racing move, because at the end of the day, they're on a racetrack to race, and this is what Dorna and the stewards and race direction and whoever need to remember. They're on a race track, okay? Seems to be handing out long lap penalties like candy at the moment. But so Fabio goes on the inside, lines it up. He pretty much held a tighter line there, even when he was riding by himself. He held this he had a very fast line. He would hug it right and then flick it in fast left in there. And he tried to make it stick on the inside of Aleix, but like I said, I think he underestimated the pace of Aleix and the turning ability of that Aprilia. And there was no, he went in for a dive and he just on the brake too much, couldn't get a turn, tucked the front, and unfortunately he went down and bumped Aleix off into the kitty litter. He then got back up, rode around a couple of laps, came into the pits, was looking down at the bike while riding around on track, came into the pits. The team said, okay, go back out, maybe for more data, or just, I've said Fabio is one of the riders that in the practice sessions qualifying, he does the most laps. He just never stops, going. He just wants to develop, he wants to keep going, he wants data, he wants to just put laps in. So maybe it was an exercise where I'll go out and just see what kind of race pace we can have. Goes out, bangs in a couple of laps, and then watching him goes into that left-hander, and he came out a lot tighter that lap. So you come out and then you kind of straight line it over that little, sweeping right-hander, but the guys really do straight line it. Fabio came out very tight, and I saw it pump once, pump twice, and the third pump I just saw legs, arms, and head, and it was a big crash for Fabio. It was good to see that he was moving almost straight away. It definitely winded him. Good to see that he got up and was okay. It was a really big crash. Saw him in the paddock afterwards, and he was holding his left shoulder quite a lot and walking around, but still, went to the fans, photos, signed. You could see he was in agony and biting his lip a little bit more, but did the fan thing and did the media, did everything. So yeah, I've said Fabio's stock is going up with everyone, and it was unfortunate, the crash. He then, after the race, got penalized with a long lap penalty for the Silverstone race in 5 weeks' time. This is my argument. I think it's a little bit harsh. At what point are you going to let these guys race on a racetrack? It wasn't a dive bomb from 16 million meters back, and it was a racing incident. And to be penalized for that, I think it's silly. I think Dorna are taking advantage of the fact that he didn't score. The championship's now open. Let's liven it up even more and give him a long lap penalty, and the championship can even close up a bit more. That's me just going crazy with my thought pattern. Could be, couldn't be, I don't know, but yeah, I think it was ridiculous from Dorna to give him that long lap penalty. Taka Nakagami played bowling balls with how many riders at Catalunya, injured Alex Marquez, ruled him out of Sachsenring, potentially cost Pecco Bagnaia the championship, and doesn't get a long lap penalty? How do you justify that? I'm not saying Taka went in deliberately to do that, but he, that wasn't a racing incident. That was Tucker just getting it completely wrong. Thankfully, he wasn't seriously injured with his head going on the back wheel and everything. But so how does that not get a penalty? But Fabio's racing incident does. It's a racetrack. Let the riders race. I said Dorna are taking away from the riders, because now Fabio, next time he wants to try and make a pass like that, he's going to think twice about it. Instead of racing and going for those moves and finding those gaps, these riders are having to second guess themselves, because, if I touch the other rider, am I going to get a double long lap penalty? And instead of just racing. How many long lap penalties or disqualifications would Rossi would have had over his career if it was the current modern day racing? He would have won one championship, Rossi. He would have probably lost all the others, whether you Sete Gibernau, the Casey Stoner incident. You know what I mean? Let the guys go race. we want the entertainment as spectators, as media, as everyone. We want them to race. Let them race. Fabio made a mistake. He paid the price by DNFing and potentially hurting himself and losing all those championship points. You know, he penalised himself enough for that mistake. Okay, yes, Aleix was caught up in it, but Aleix fought back, and the championship is now closed. 172 points Fabio, 151 points Aleix. Yeah, Aleix could have got more out of it, but even Aleix came out and said, Fabio's not a dirty rider. He didn't do it on purpose. And Aleix recovered, made that entertaining. Let the guys go, race Dorna. Come on, man. This long lap penalty stuff needs to stop. I understand it for riders getting in the way maliciously or stupidly in qualifying and stuff, setting up and being stupid. I understand it for that. But when it's a racing incident like that, don't do it. Anyway, Pecco Bagnaia, like I said, we sing the praises of Fabio so often, and we did at Sachsenring, how he controlled and ran away. And Sven Grun actually commented, because I put rider of the day options as Bezzecchi, Vinales, Aleix, Brad, and I didn't even think about mentioning Pecco because, you know, he was out front and he just did what I think he's more than capable of and doing normally. But yeah, he no doubt should be probably the rider of the day because of the way he handled the whole weekend. Got out front, managed the race, and just stuck it and won by 0.4 of a second in the end. So it wasn't, I think Pecco had it fully controlled. But it was a fantastic job by Pecco, who now puts himself back up in fourth in the championship. A glimpse for that title is there with Fabio's DNF. Marco Bezzecchi, as I said, one of the riders of the day, in my opinion. Fantastic ride. Bezzecchi has really done a great job in MotoGP this year. Yeah, he's had his DNFs and he's whatever, but he's been consistently fast. And to do what he did, I was watching on the side, kind of waiting for him to just fade and, get out of the podium positions. He didn't. He stuck it in there, 0.4 of a second behind the overall race winner, Pecco Bagnaia. Top job, Marco Bezzecchi, brilliant. And he's just running away with that rookie's title now, it looks like there. Maverick Vinales, another contender for rider of the day, first podium on the Aprilia, also looked good the whole weekend, looked more assured of himself, looked happier. Maverick, even riding around the paddock, just looked happier, was stopping with fans and just looks a much happier rider, does Maverick. And that's what Aprilia had to do. They had to get him happy, because a happy Maverick is a fast Maverick, and he proved it. On the podium, brilliant ride. Well done, Maverick Vinales, and it's awesome to see Maverick. It's just another rider in contention week in, week out. That's what we want to see. We want to see these guys competing for podiums. The more guys up there competing, the better the racing is. Aleix Spargo gets knocked off by Fabio in the gravel right in front of me. I saw the whole thing unfold. Comes back on in 16th place and gets himself up into 4th place and does a dive bomb Darren of note into the final chicane. A couple of years ago in Moto3, Darren, that's where he got the name from, dive bomb. He was telling me while we walked the track on Thursday, that's where he got his name from, because he passed like 3 or 4 guys on the brakes going into that final chicane. That's where dive bomb Darren came from. So now it's dive bomb Aleix Espargaro, because he did a Binder and a Miller on Brad Binder and Jack Miller. 2 of the latest breakers in the paddock. You cannot pass them on the brakes, and Aleix comes and passes both of them. Was it a harsh move? He took a gap. It's racing. Yes, he beat out our Brad Binder, and that's the frustrating part. But hats off for Aleix, 16th, and to come through into 4th place. Another top contender for rider of the day. Brilliant ride. Puts himself right in the mix for the championship. He's a true contender. Well done, Aleix Espargaro and Aprilia. Another top performance. Damn you bastard, for Brad Binder and getting him. Brad in 5th place. Another brilliant ride from 10th to 5th. Another contender for rider of the day. Watching him from the side of the track, that guy just wrestles that motorbike. It is like he's got a bull by the horns and he's just wrestling it where he wants. The other riders, you can see, they all wrestle their bikes, but the bikes play the game a little bit more. Brad was you could physically see Brad Binder just wrecking that bike and putting it where he wanted it, and still wouldn't go where he wanted it. He was still that, he can't finish the corners off as well as the others, and he's always that much off the actual apex, because he just can't get the bike there. But to see, and I still can't fathom it, because Brad's this tiny little guy, but he's got so much strength, mental strength, that just gives his whole body strength, and he just manhandles that KTM, and he manhandled it to 5th once again. He manhandled that bike to 5th place, 2.7 off the overall win, which is fantastic. And it was down to Brad Binder just wrestling that bike. He wrestled that bike into 5th position. That bike shouldn't have been there. That bike should have been kind of where Miguel finished in 9th place, 8 seconds off the pace. but Brad wrestled that KTM into 5th place. So brilliant ride from Brad. Jack Miller, yeah, he got, long lap penalty, Jack, and he came fighting through, and he kept himself in the podium mix, and unfortunately down to 6th right at the last chicane. But another good ride from Jack Miller, made the soft combination work somehow. And looking good, looking happy. Another solid ride there from Jack Miller despite another long lap penalty. Jorge Martin seemed to have faded towards the end, maybe succumbing to the injury, giving up a little bit maybe, but another good ride, was on the front row. Good overall weekend for Jorge Martin, who it looks like is going to be the second rider in the full factory Ducati team. It's only about I think he probably has put his signature on that deal already, so wait for that announcement to come soon. Then behind them, Jean Mir 8th, Suzuki, not a great weekend for them again, but finishing at least. I said it was going to be tough for the rest of the season with them. Miguel in 9th, Alex Rins in 10th, and Enea Bastianini's just fallen off the cliff. He really does. He's not this happy, bubbly character he used to be within the Cressini team. Heard rumblings, that he's just not the same guy. I was with Cressini on Saturday night, and Enea was sitting in the corner by himself eating his supper. So he's just lost something, Enea. He's just lost, and it's Ducati's fault in many ways, because I think that's just played on his mind, and it's just broken Enea a little bit. So yeah, unfortunate to see Enea just dropping down. That's good for Brad Binder, because he's closing on him for that 5th in the World Championship. And Brad could find himself up inside that top 5 come the end of the year in the World Championship, which would be fantastic. Nakagami down in 12th, Zarko a little bit disappointing in 13th. He sits 3rd in the championship, so he lost a big opportunity to get good points there. DJ Antonio with another good ride in 14th, another rookie, more points for him. And then Alex Marquez is just cruising. I think he's going to cruise the rest of the season out. Doesn't want to destroy himself, ready for his Ducati ride next year. Darren Binder, unfortunately, crashing out, but good effort there by Darren. He went faster, or quite a bit faster than he managed in qualifying even. He got into the 33s at 133.7, was the second Yamaha, was the leading Yamaha on track after Fabio's crash for a couple of corners. He got himself ahead of Raul, Remy, Franco Morbidelli and Dovi, and was starting to close in on Bradl and Marini ahead of him, and then unfortunately the crash. But that's Darren giving 110%. That's what happened there. He just gave 110% to try and get up there. Didn't have a great feeling with the bike the whole weekend, and unfortunately another weird crash, same as Arez. Grabbed the front brake, front tucks, and just dead down he goes. Big fast crash. His leathers afterwards were destroyed. Took a big beating. Glad to report that Darren is okay. No injuries whatsoever to report. Very buckled motorbike, but nice 5-week break now to reset. But the problem for Darren this weekend was he wasn't making the small steps, of progression. He was making these leaps. And it's sometimes not the way to do it. You need those small steps to improve. They were making these leaps and leaps and leaps. And when you make those leaps, it comes with a lot of, difficulties and a lot of setup issues when you're going from here to here. So it was a challenging weekend for Darren. But again, I think he proved that he is a MotoGP rider, and he should be on that grid. Yes, he crashed out, but as I said, he was ahead of Raul, who looks like he's going to take that spot of his, and pulled in and complained of a sore wrist, and I don't think he's particularly a very good team player at the moment, Raul Fernandez. But gave up. He pulled in and he gave up, to be honest. That Raul Fernandez doesn't want to be at KTM, and I think Razlan and the team need to look at how he's hasn't been a team player this year and his approach to the season. But anyway, we can talk about that more in Talking MotoGP live tonight on the Motor Rider World page from 8 o'clock. Make sure you join in, and we'll talk everything MotoGP from Assen, and we'll even talk some other stuff. And then keep a lookout on the Motor Rider World page for updates and ways that we can keep you entertained over the 5-week break. We're going to try and get Simon Cravefar, and I've got a couple of other big personalities lined up that we can do live chats with. So that is Paddock Talk from Assen MotoGP Sunday. Great experiencing the Cathedral of Speed, and looking forward to a little bit of a rest now. But catch up with you all later, Monday night, Talking MotoGP live. Remember, like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and spread the word. That is Motor Rider World.